Welcome back to CFB Nation. I am your host, Nino Brown. I got my ears lowered. I look like a normal human being again. And I'm with my co-host, my man, Mr. Get It Done, aka D Now. And you are watching Devy Darlings. When you see us on the screen, you know what it means. D Now, how we doing tonight, buddy?
I'm personal note, little banged up, but other than that, I'm excited to talk about this gentleman. Like we were saying in the green room, there's some room for growth. But sky's the limit for this kid.
Banged up, like no elbow thing. You didn't fall on the stairs again, right?
No, this is wear and tear with the kids. Ended up
boy.
messing up my knee.
Oh man,
Yeah.
Like a little casual game of flag football turns into
Yeah.
torn ACL.
Exactly.
All right. If you haven't, you can't tell by the guy on the screen. His name is John Randle Jr. He is a running back right now at the University of Utah. But before we get into all of that, this gentleman's from Wichita, Kansas. He's one of the top 5 running backs in Kansas in his class. 6 foot, 185 pounds. He went to Heights High School. He was all-state his junior season in special teams. He averaged almost 30 yards per return, and he took one to the crib. He was the 19th ranked running back in the 2023 class. Talk to me about your special. I know this is your lane right here, buddy.
Yeah, you know me. I love kids that play or who are two-sport athletes, especially guys who run track, like this gentleman did. Mr. Randall was a two-sport athlete, football, track. He was a triple jump champion. You don't see that very often.
No.
His junior year with a jumps of 49 feet and 3.5 inches. He also ran the 100 and 200. His 100 time was 11.15, so that's pretty fast. And 200 was 22.69, also pretty good.
Yeah, it's got some boogie to him.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that as well. He has a pretty extensive body of work at Heights High School, and I understand why he was one of the top running backs in Kansas when he was there. His sophomore year, now mind you, he led it all 4 years. He was starter as freshman season. I believe he had 800 yards his freshman year, but sophomore year is when we started hitting that 1,000-yard mark. 8 games, 102 attempts, he had 1,009 yards, 10 touchdowns. He had 4 games of over 100 yards. Okay, next season as a junior, 9 games. They made a playoff game. 116 attempts, 1,095 yards, 19 touchdowns on the ground. Right, he had 5 games of over 100 yards, and then his senior year, 8 games. 118 attempts, 1,272 yards, 15 touchdowns. He had 7 games of over 100 plus yards for a total in his career of 4,000 plus rushing yards, 49 touchdowns, and he put on 35 receptions for 460 plus yards and 4 touchdowns. He was a very versatile back, and he didn't get a large amount of carries. He never got more than 125 carries. You know what I mean? But he put up numbers, and he found the red zone. Talk to me about his production at Heights High School.
Yeah, so looking at these numbers, it makes me wonder if he had a really strong running mate. Because, like you said, 118 was the most carries. So I'm a little surprised by that. But coming out of high school, he had 25 plus offers from some of the big dogs. He had Oregon, Texas, Florida State, our schools, Boston College, and Iowa. Ole Miss, Tennessee, and Colorado. Ended up, though, going to Utah, making that decision there. And at Utah, his freshman year, he ended up redshirting, only had 2 attempts for 3 yards. But it was a pretty upperclassman-heavy running back room at the time, so probably the best decision for him.
Right, and we're going to get into it a little bit. I'd still the room is kind of up in the air outside of Micah Bernard. Right, obviously he's going to be the RB1, I would assume, and then I feel as though Jalen Glover
he'll get some touches for
sure. Be the de facto 2. You know what I'm saying? But then it's like Stanley and then Mitchell as a redshirt freshman with Randall, and then I think there's one more gentleman there. Charlie Vincent. But some of those guys are going to play special teams, right? But they're running backs. They're going to be more a special teams guy. I think. When we break down his attributes, I think his style of play, what he can offer them. Yeah, he's a special teamer. Don't get me wrong, but he also is a playmaker. All right, and he has some wow factor to him. So let's get into that real quick. What I saw right off the rip when I started watching him, I'm like, oh wow, and my comp jumped off the screen to me. First 3-4 minutes I was watching, I'm like, whoa, wow, okay, upright runner. Okay, he can get low when necessary, but he is an upright guy, but he does well. I'm not going to knock it. He's got good vision, right? He's very athletic, shifty. I mean, this guy's got legitimate contact balance. People throw that word around. I'm talking about a guy that was literally getting held in, like, he'd break a tackle and they'd be holding onto his leg. He'd somehow get out of it. One leg bounce, bank out, go up the outside, cut back in. Like, he has legit contact balance. And there's pedigree to it. His father was a running back for Kansas State. And then his uncle, Joseph Randle, was running back for Oklahoma State. And then I believe he played 3 years in the NFL for the Dallas Cowboys. So that's all there. And you can see that in his game. Dino, what did you see when you watched some film?
Yeah, first thing I noticed was his speed. He's not just a short burst kind of guy. He's 100, obviously, track 100-yard speed. Another thing I noticed is he's not a one-trick pony. He'll run inside, he'll run outside. Whatever you need to do, he'll do it. One thing that I think he doesn't get enough credit for is his blocking. He's a great downfield blocker. He's got great hands. Again, more than just a one-trick pony. You could use him in the passing game. I think we said almost 40 receptions in his high school career. And another thing is you can line him up in the slot or out wide on some pass plays as well. I noticed that he did that some in high school.
Yeah.
So there's also that Swiss Army knife sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. There's versatility everywhere. I watched there was a couple games where he lined up like all the way on the outside. They put him in motion, and then next set he'd be in the slot, then he'd be in the backfield. Then you can kind of put him anywhere you really wanted to. He can run routes at a decent rate. I mean, he's not a Jerry Jeudy out there, but he can do enough to get open. But what I did notice is he can pass pro. He can protect his quarterback when he's out there in the slot. I watched him just straight blow up guys, right off the line of scrimmage to get his guys loose. So I'm all for it. If you got a running back that's willing to whether it's his quarterback, his other running back mate, or wide receiver, he's willing to block for them downfield to spring somebody to get extra yards. I'm all for it. You got a special teamer, and you got a kind of like a dirt dog. It doesn't matter what he's got to do out of the backfield just to get on the field and get it done. I'm with it. We'll get into that part of the show, the player comps. And listen, I'm going to say the first guy because he's a hometown guy for you. And I want to see. Go ahead.
Can I interrupt you real quick?
Go ahead.
Seeing how he did play some in high school, and obviously he's very raw, but with the blocking, with looking at their depth chart, they're pretty senior heavy at wide receiver. You think a switch could be made in the future?
With Utah, I mean, you don't ever know. I mean, look, they put, Sion Vaki, defensive safety. He was playing running back. He was playing receiver for them. They do tend to do that. Jackson was a quarterback turned running back. So, I mean, there is a possibility. I just look at Bernard had a health issue, right? So, obviously, I mean, I don't know if they're going to give him the 200 touches. So, that's why I feel like the other gentleman will kind of get in there and be the two. But you look at a guy that can come in and be in a two-back set with them, right? He can go out and block. He can protect his quarterback. He has hands. I think that will get him some touches. And the fact that he's a special teamer also helps. He has that flash, like you mentioned, the long speed. Stuff like that, you can't kind of teach. He just has that. So I feel like those intangibles will get him on the field. Now, what the gentleman does with his opportunity, that's all on him. But he has it. I mean, my other concern that I mentioned to you in the green room is he's been in college for a full season. And he's been in a college weight room for a full year, eating maybe the best food or the shittiest food, whatever it may be. You put weight on. The kids, just the way it is, especially when you go. He came in at 182. He's at 185, 3 pounds. I mean, but you can see he's lean as hell. So, and he's muscular. He has that physicality to him. But at 6 foot, 6'1", he's probably going to grow a little bit more. I would want to see 207, 210.
See, that's what I was thinking too. Maybe like the slot is his future, or he's just going to end up becoming a third down running back,
right? Because it can be the pass and one of the two. I'm hoping we'll get a little more production on him this year and get more of an idea of where we're at. We'll have to wait and see. But from what I saw out of Heights High School, the upright runners, the ability to, the contact balance, he can shift one hand on the ground and not get tackled and just pop up and go. The ability to get into a pack, twist. He doesn't have like elite spin moves or any of that, but when he does it well. And that's an Arian Foster type trait that I saw. Like the way he ran, I always said it when I was watching him. I'm like, this dude just runs unorthodox, but yet it's successful. He literally was the most upright runner I've seen in the NFL. And then again, like he wasn't super like stiff on me. He didn't have those like elite like just shiftiness to him, but he had a spin move that he was able to utilize coming out of the hole. He had a little bit of that physicality to him. He was a receiver. He didn't play as long due to health concerns, but I liked Arian Foster's game, and I feel like Randle right now kind of has that vibe to him. The long speed, catching ability. I know you watched him a little bit in Detroit. He went to Auburn and was, got himself to be a second-round pick in his production at Auburn. But Kerryon Johnson, I get that vibe a little bit too. I know Kerryon might have been a little bit more compact of a running back, but just the style of play. He was more, when he made a shifty move, it was quick and dynamic, but just how he could get into a spot and get out, be a receiver, had that long speed, didn't mind hitting a chip block and getting this guy out there. So that the both of those guys, I mean, if you want to mesh them together, would probably be Randle, in a whole. But I see, points from both of those guys. So what are your comps?
Yeah, so I had two written down, but I can, like, just talking, I thought of two more potentially. So I'm going to go first off, Darren McFadden.
Okay.
The vertical running style, again, wasn't too flashy, but when he made the move, it was effective. My second one is Willis McGahee from the U. Again, kind of more compact than Randle may be right now. But he was kind of your everything sort of running back. He could run inside, he could run outside. He had that speed that when he was gone, no one was even on the TV screen with him.
I wish Randle had a little more size to him, because McGahee at Miami would snuff you and run you over, but he could also, leave you, undressed at the line of scrimmage too. So it's like, I see where you got that. I just, like I said, if he could put on to the frame 6'6'1", if he could put the 10, 15 pounds on, I mean, I'm right there where he could be,
And then I will say another lazy man comp has to be Cordell Patterson. Again, upright running, can catch the ball, special teams god. So that would be a third one.
How tall was Cribbs? Was he like 6 foot? For some reason, I feel like he was like 6'2", 6'3". But maybe
I don't want to say he was taller than 6'2", because he was a little guy.
Because that's the thing, right? More so, you see the braids, and it makes him look like he was like he had that long speed, right? Like I think of Patterson and that style of play. Like they use Cribbs as kind of like a Swiss Army knife as well, in the slot, out wide for just deep vertical routes and stuff. So if running back doesn't work, maybe that is an option.
I was going to say another one that came up to my mind. I don't know. I may be digging into the memory, but J.J. Arrington out of Cal when Aaron Rodgers was there.
Yeah. That's that Kerryon Johnson style.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, even he was just a little bit bigger of a back, and I loved him coming out of college. I thought he was going to be something like Javid Best.
Yeah, I was thinking him too.
But he was beefier, you know what I mean? But he had that style. Like when he made a move, it wasn't like super like, whoa. But he had enough athleticism to break a guy, or at least extend his run to get the other two. So, I mean, we'll have to see. Like I said, Micah Bedard is the one at Utah. Utah does some crazy things. So if they do use him in as a schemed up, kind of like gadget guy to get him going early, if he produces at that, that's only going to get him more time and more opportunity to get on the field. Again, he did also play as a freshman free safety. He had 6 tackles in high school. So it's like, it's kind of that Utah guy, right? Because he can do a little bit of everything. So I listen, again, Micah Bedard is the one. I said it before. The other gentleman, what is his name? Glover, I believe, is going to be the 2. But there's a void there in the 3 spot. Okay, there's a senior, another redshirt freshman, and a true freshman. I feel from what I've seen on tape, with the pedigree that he has and the style of play he has, I feel like John Randle Jr. can get himself some playing time this year. And all he needs is a shot, right? You hear it all the time. Just let me get my foot in the door. Don't let John Randle get his foot in the door because he could be coming for somebody's job real soon. Dino, I appreciate you. This was a great episode. We're going to be running down a new calendar of guys we're going to be doing, incorporating the new freshmen coming in. So we'll get that out to you guys as soon as possible, get you a schedule what we're going to break it down. But if you have, suggestions that you would like, drop them in the chat, right? Drop them in the comments or shoot us a DM on the X, and we'll get that. We'll break down any guy you want to see. So once again, here we are. D-Now. I'm Nino Brown. This is Devy Darlings. CFB Nation. We out.